So another question I was going to ask you is like, obviously in this music journey and process, there's been probably a lot of ups and downs. And I know a lot of people on here are young creatives or young artists and stuff too. So like, I mean, what's one piece of advice you'd give to maybe someone in that position who's maybe just at their youth group and they're like, man, I'm really struggling. Like, this isn't really, I don't know, maybe they're just going through some hard times. Like, what's some advice you'd give for them, or maybe a story in your life where you've had to learn that and gone through some valleys and all that stuff? Like, maybe just share a little bit about that. I know I just kind of put you on the spot, but
No,
I think it'd be awesome.
it's good. It's good. Not that I have the all the wisdom, but I think definitely. I mean, you can probably relate to it too. We all go through ups and downs. Like
For
it's just,
sure.
and I think it's such a mind game for me as far as like music. Like they say, like if you want to do music, it's going to be really hard, and you're like, well, what does that mean? Like it's going to be hard, but a lot of it's like kind of like a mind game of like, oh, like am I like good enough, or whatever. If you're in a youth group, and I think the first thing I would say is that, like, sorry, I'm like all over the place, but the first thing I would say is that remembering that like God is faithful. And there have been so many times when I've been walking through a season and I just like didn't know what was going to be next. I didn't know it was going to be ahead. But looking back, every single time God is faithful, and he like provides, like, and is so, like right there with me the whole time, even when I didn't realize it. And so I would say that would be like my first encouragement, is that if you're like walking through a tough season, like reminding yourself, and then like talking to encouraging people that are going to bring you back to him, and going to bring you back to the word, and like going to bring you back to like, he is faithful, and he's not going to leave you. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but he's not going to leave you.
Right.
And then I would say like something that a lot of different mentors in my life have encouraged me, and even like my sister Lindsay was like, I think yes, I know she's upstairs, so like point, but which I think is so cool. But like journaling and looking back, and this is like, yeah, looking back like months later and be like, oh my goodness, like God, like that's what he answered those prayers, and like God took care of that. So I think it's not always how we expect it to turn out. Like I didn't ever really expect that I would be in Nashville. I like never wanted to move away from my small town, but here I am.
You're here. You're here.
But here we are.
That's
Does
so
that kind
cool.
of?
Yeah, that's perfect. I love it. Thanks for sharing that. I think a lot of people can relate to that. And even for me, like, I think it's so cool how we both kind of have similar stories. I know we met up a few weeks ago, and it's like you kind of started singing at your church and youth group and worship, and I kind of started with that same thing. So like something that I've had to learn is keeping the main thing, and that's obviously Jesus for us. And it's easy to let other things kind of get in that way, especially as you get further and further in industry and music and all that. But I think like keeping the main thing is super important. And yeah, I love what you said. That's really good. So.
Hey, you too.
Yeah. Hey.